talk to Obama, don't talk to me. They were uncomfortable with the nature of it. Also, we don't know what other restrictions have been placed on that 5-minute discussion period because they refused to make the contract public. But tonight, I think because they're seated, they're forced to look at each other. It's going to be more of a confrontational process. The interesting question is, if McCain is going to be determined, and I think he will, to make tonight's debate a game changer, try to make it a significant event and try to be more aggressive and confrontational, how is that going to be able to be done? Is it going to be difficult around a seated, congenial atmosphere to do that kind of confrontational, aggressive debate? So it'll be a really interesting debate.
Orchard Park, New York, for Senator Obama.
Yes, Mr. Farah, you're a breath of fresh air. This needs to have been said, and I congratulate you. One other item that I think you could throw out here, and I think you'll agree, the commission that has been constructed by the Democrat and the Republican Party has absolutely no authority. It's strictly a recommendation of a commission. Yet every network, including your host this morning, C-SPAN, has caved and gone along. For example, in the last election, I remember calling in to Brian Lamb saying, Mr. Lamb, would you like C-SPAN's ratings to go through the roof? He said, yeah, tell me about it. I said, when the debate is coming up, provide 2 more chairs. Invite a couple of the other candidates, too, and you'll see the ratings go through the roof, Nader and so forth, of the other candidates. He said, it's a great idea. I'll think about it. What happened 2 weeks later? Sorry, we're not going to do it. As every other network has caved, apparently the other networks, I'd like your opinion, Mr. Farah, the other networks apparently want to go along with the system of dumbing down debates.
Well, sir, I think you make a lot of fantastic points. First, thank you for your kind words. Second, the commission, you're right. There is no authority. Most people think the Commission on Presidential Debates, because of its name, commission, is some sort of government entity, a government branch. It's not. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a private corporation that was created by the Republican and Democratic parties in 1986. They ratified an agreement to, quote, take over the presidential debates. Its purpose is to strengthen the parties, and it has a monopoly over our public forums because the candidates will only participate in forums sponsored by this commission. As a result, if you want to see a third-party candidate in the debate, it's unlikely to happen. If you want a particularly aggressive format, it's unlikely to be seen. With respect to networks, sir, you're right. The networks do have tremendous power. The first presidential debate in history on television was in 1960. It was sponsored not by the commission, not by the League of Women Voters, but by the networks. If the networks came together and tried and insisted on hosting a presidential debate that was more inclusive, it could be successful. But it must be understood, of course, that the networks are going to cover a debate the major party candidates participate in. We can't attack them for covering the commission-sponsored debate. These are highly significant political events, and it is the only time we have an opportunity to see the candidates on the same stage in front of tens of millions of voters.
The stage tonight is the David Mack Sports and Exhibition Center located at Hofstra University. You've been seeing a video of that as we've been talking throughout the morning. And as you look at some more of the exteriors of the building and now the interior, we'll go next to Baltimore, Maryland, on our line for others.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's about time you finally got somebody on C-SPAN with some serious candor. What I don't understand is, I can understand why they would want to keep, the politicians would want to keep things secret. All criminals like to keep things secret. They don't like to get caught doing stuff. As far as a third party, the gentleman before, he hit it right on the head. I don't understand why they wouldn't allow the people of the United States want a third-party candidate. I'd like a third-party candidate. I think if it would seriously rattle up some of the garbage that's going on in Washington, D.C. And I have to say again, I'm glad you have this guest on your show this morning. I hope you have more like him. And, maybe the American people can finally realize that it's Washington as usual.
Well, sir, you raised an interesting point. I just want to make it clear that our organization doesn't support a particular third-party candidate. We don't think there ought to be third-party candidates in the debates unless the American people want them there. If they just want 2 candidates, have 2 candidates. If they want 8, there should be 8. Again, what right does a corporation have to exclude those third-party candidates? The commission will tell you that hundreds of candidates run for president, including Billy Joe Clegg of the Clegg Won't Pull Your Leg Party, or Bob of the Crustacean Liberation Party. And if we allow third-party candidates in, we're going to have a stage with hundreds of people on stage. It's going to be chaos. There's no one's going to be able to answer a question. It's going to be madness. This is a total deception. That's not the case. Only 6, and that's including Obama and McCain, only 6 candidates are currently on enough state ballots to even have a chance of winning the presidency mathematically. Just 6. You have to have at least 1 million petition signatures to get on ballots across this country. And if you had a debate with 6 people, it's no more or no less than there were in the Democratic primary. We're not advocating for that. The specific criteria we're advocating is if a candidate's on enough state ballots and a majority of Americans want to see him on the presidential debates, he should be included. This year, maybe 1 candidate has made it.
You talked about the role of moderators. There's a full-page ad by the IncomeTaxFact.org group, and they talk about Bob Schieffer, about wanting him to ask a question about cutting income taxes. What do you think about the previous moderators, and what do you think about Mr. Schieffer?
Well, from 1988 till 2000, Jim Lehrer hosted virtually every single presidential debate. Why? Because he wasn't going to be particularly aggressive. He is a widely respected moderator, and he's neutral. But again, the candidates wanted a guy who was going to ask softball, predictable questions. The Commission has done another positive step, which is, as in large part a result of our criticism and the criticisms of much of the people in the media, have proposed moderators. And that's why this time around and in 2004, we have a diversity of moderators. It's not just one moderator. It's Bob Schieffer, it's Gwen Ifill, it's Tom Brokaw. That said, these moderators are moderators that candidates have agreed to. These are moderators that they are comfortable with. They're mainstream press. They're going to ask particular questions that are not too controversial. They're not going to ask the kind of gotcha questions that might be difficult to answer. And so while we have tremendous respect for Bob Schieffer and other moderators that have been performing this year, and we applaud the Commission for pushing and proposing their own moderators rather than having the candidates just select Jim Lehrer every time, we do think we need more creative moderators and moderators selected by the public interest, by people, by the Pulitzer Prize-winning Commission. In 1980, the League of Women Voters asked the Pulitzer Prize-winning Commission, Newspapers Editors Association, and a bunch of other journalist organizations, who should moderate the debates? Bill Moyers was selected. Imagine Bill Moyers moderating a debate in 2008. It isn't going to happen.
What does Mr. Schieffer have to do tonight that the other candidate or the other moderators haven't done?
Most importantly, force the candidates to talk to each other. I don't know what rules that Bob Schieffer is constrained by. Is he allowed to have the candidates ask each other questions? Can he himself ask difficult follow-up questions? Tom Brokaw was clearly frustrated with the rules that were constraining him, and we sympathize with the position he was in. But if Bob Schieffer can get Obama and McCain to get off their script, they all have memorized soundbite answers, 60-second answers, but then force them. McCain, Obama, talk to each other. Pretend I'm not here. Get past your memorized soundbite and have an actual debate, not a glorified bipartisan press conference.
Anchorage, Alaska, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Cavalier. I agree. These debates are a farce. They are nothing but selected sound bites by Republicans and Democrats, and the moderators are all left-wing liberal Democrats. And I would like to have it where as in high school debate, where the two candidates talk to each other, and this isn't going to happen. Thank you very much.
Sir, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's an interesting question about what you just raised, is high school debate. If you'll notice, we've seen debates in high school, we see debates in college, we see debates in trade associations over issues. They're never as stilted or as controlled as this. These candidates are asking for our vote. They're asking to be the most powerful person in the country, in the world, and they don't have the courage, or their campaigns don't have the courage, to let them engage in actual debate because they're terrified of making a mistake on camera. Just to emphasize that point, in 1976, the power went out in a presidential debate between Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford. For 17 minutes, there was no power. What did the candidates do? They talked to each other, they relaxed. They stood frozen, perfectly still for 17 minutes because they're terrified of making a mistake in front of tens of millions of voters. We need to kick it up a notch and demand that our candidates talk to each other during these debates.
Because television sends this information to millions.
Absolutely.
Concessions have to be made for television.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Pedro. I understand the incentive of the campaigns. They are responsible to protect their candidates. I understand they're going to do whatever they can to avoid making a major gaffe that's going to be repeated ad nauseum on YouTube, on the nightly news. What we don't understand is why the Commission on Presidential Debates is allowing the campaigns to have absolute control over it. It's allowing the fox to guard the chicken coop. It's not supposed to be the very people who are afraid of a real debate in charge of our debate.
Next call is from Washington, D.C. for our lines for those who support Senator Obama.
Yes, good morning. This is a refreshing topic. I mean, this is something that my family and I have discussed in watching the debates, my husband and even my children. because we feel like as Americans, and I am in no way, shape, or form a expert on debates, but as the other caller referenced, if you look at a regular high school debate and how that is done, this is nowhere near that level of intensity, and it is an important